Hi, there are two purposes for this video. The first is to identify the individual who did this to my son, who caused this damage by smashing a glass into his face approximately a week ago. And then the second is a broader issue, and that is that a much broader societal issue, and that is that my experience with police and police procedure and police administered procedures thus far has led me to conclude that it's very likely that hundreds of thousands of South Africans are being denied access to justice simply by police incompetence at the police station. Just a heads up, my son and I have been to police stations on 4 separate occasions. Twice the police have refused to take statements from us, and twice we've been unable to actually lodge the complaint. That'll be in this second part of the video. Now onto the incident itself. This happened last Sunday morning. That's the 26th of October, approximately 1:10 a.m. So that would have been folk who'd been out on the night of Saturday the 25th. And then rolling over into entertainment in the early hours of Sunday morning. It occurred at a club called Ritas in Lower Kloof Street. Ritas sits above Hudsons. One has to enter Hudsons in order to access Ritas. My son and his friends were sitting at a table adjacent to the attacker and his associates at another table. My son noticed that the attacker and his associates were being aggressive towards people at his table. In fact, one of the women at his table subsequently confirmed that the attacker had told her that he didn't mind if he ended up killing a woman. Anyhow, my son stood up, went over to the attacker, placed a hand on his chest and asked him to desist. He was met with an aggressive, heavy slapping down of his hand, and then regrettably responded by throwing the first punch, and the attacker then responded by smashing a glass into his face. There was then a scuffle. They ended up on the floor. You can see the amount of blood that ended up on the floor. The bouncers came in, separated the two, and took my son away. And subsequently, the bouncers had to restrain the attacker from actually attacking my son again with blood pouring from his face. What do we know about the attacker? So I've been to the club and adjacent clubs on 3 separate occasions, reviewed CCTV footage. I've spoken to a number of staff members and other witnesses. Our best assessment at the moment is that he is Moroccan. His features are Arabian/North African, probably 5'7", 5'8", square face, strong jaw, dense, evenly distributed stubble. And as indicated, probably with significant wounds to his left hand, most likely. That's what we know about him. So I'm hoping that if you have young adults in your house, that you send a copy of this video to them, and if they have friends who frequent the Kloof Street area, please, if they could copy this video to them, because I'm hoping that someone will be able to recognize and identify this individual. One of the individuals believes that I've spoken to believes that he lives in the northern suburbs. Before moving on to the issue of police procedure, just a big thank you and a big shout out to the management and staff of both Hudsons and Ritas for, number one, for intervening and for protecting from further damage on the night in question, and then secondly for their understanding and for their granting me access to the CCTV footage and for allowing us both to speak to witnesses and staff members on a number of separate occasions. Thank you very much, guys. And now on to the matter of the manner in which the police handled this case. So as indicated beforehand, we try to report the matter a total of 4 times. The first instance was actually about midday on the Sunday. At that stage he was in surgery. I went to the central police station in the centre of Cape Town, had to wait maybe 10 minutes or so, and whilst reporting the matter, the police person who was at the desk found out that was an adult and said to me that he personally had to be physically present and lodge the complaint. I said, well, look, he's in hospital at the moment. What happens if there are complications and he ends up, for being in hospital for a week or 2 weeks? What about the principle of investigating the matter as soon as possible so that the evidence trail doesn't grow cold? And I was met with impassive stares, and sir, he physically has to be present. So instance number 2, we went to a police station closer to home. This is either the Tuesday or the Wednesday, covered in bandages, only had to wait about 5 minutes. the police officer who's attending to us says, well, where is your J88? We said, well, what's a J88? The J88 is the form that has to be filled in by the attending surgeon. So we said, well, why do we need a form from a surgeon? I mean, you can see the nature of his injuries. They're quite clear. We have photographic evidence. Why do we need a J88? Again, an impassive look. Sir, you need this J88 completed. I said, well, what happens if the surgeon is on holiday in Northern Europe at the moment and doesn't get back for 3 weeks? What about the principle of attending to the matter before the evidence trail grows cold? Again, impassive stares, and by the way, you can't report this matter here. We don't have jurisdiction. You have to report it in town. Instance number 3, this was the following day. I were in town. We'd been interviewing people at the clubs. Went to the central police station without our J88 because it hadn't yet been completed by the surgeon. And we were just going to try our luck anyway, but the queues in the central police station was a day long. There must have been 35 to 40 people waiting there. I then went on the subsequent day, just me on my own. This was late at night after having been to the clubs again to interview witnesses. I went into the police station in town with the J88 this time. Even though I wasn't present, I was going to try my luck. But again, the queues there must have been 20 people waiting. So what's my point? My point is simply this, is that I have the disposable time and the resources available to me to pursue this matter until such time as the police do indeed take it over. But what about your average South African who doesn't have disposable time, who doesn't have disposable income, who needs to risk losing a day's pay or even more by taking a taxi traveling in from the Cape Flats to the center of town to report a matter? What about a rape victim who goes to a local police station and they don't have their J88? What prospect is there that your average South African will be able to pursue the matter in the same extent that I'm pursuing the matter? So I have some simple suggestions to the police. Number 1, allow an assault case to be reported on behalf of an adult victim, number 1. Number 2, allow people to report it to their closest police station. This will drop some of the load off your clearly overloaded CBD police station. And then number 3, you must have some central database. Operate a triage system where on a daily basis you assess the urgency of cases in order to assign resources. But the way things operate at the moment, there's no doubt in my mind that hundreds of thousands of South Africans are being denied justice simply because they cannot get to report a matter to the police.